Welcome back to the show. Thanks for checking in. My name's Matt. You're watching Impress Comics. So it's just going to be a Heroes Con 2025 rundown of the events as I saw them, what happened to me. I'm going to try to not spoil anybody else's videos, and I'll try to keep any pictures of everybody else kind of to a minimum to where they can sort of reveal what they got and how they got them through the weekend. So we'll just pretty much stick to my single track that I made through the weekend. My con actually started before Thursday when I got off work to go. I ended up talking to my friend Jim over at ImproveCollecting.com. He said that his oldest child had backed out and decided not to go, so he had an extra VIP ticket. I just had a plain regular ticket, so he offered that to me, and I snatched that up quickly. What that ends up being for VIP at HeroesCon is that you get to get into the convention center an hour early before everybody else. Those were limited to 500 tickets. Now the press pass could get in before VIP, so let's make that clear. But there were 500 VIP tickets, and if you're going next year, that's the way to go. I will not do regular again, and I will probably, I'll definitely do the early entry for sure. There's no doubt. That was the biggest thing for me personally on Friday, and on Sunday it paid off twice for me. So on Thursday I got off of work about lunchtime. Charlotte is about 2 hours and 20 minutes or so from me, and I got in the car, headed on up there, and was hoping to find a place to park, and turns out the hotel was great. The parking garage was fine as well. But I want to caution you for something that I did not do. I knew early on, so I booked my ticket in, I think, November or early December, and got my hotel and all that stuff lined up, and everything was good to go. Well, I found out a little while later, months later, that everybody was actually going to be staying in the Westin, and that's kind of the first I heard of it. It's the first time I've ever been to HeroesCon, so I didn't know anything. And I went to look at changing my reservations, and it was going to be an extra almost $400 to stay at the Westin versus where I was staying, which was a Hilton Garden Inn, which was only a 5-minute walk to the convention center, which is great, but it's a little farther walk to get all the way to the other side of the convention center to get to the Westin where everybody else was staying, where I ended up spending a lot of time hanging out. And the only bad part about that, walking's great, no problem. I have no problem with that. I think almost 15,000 steps a day is what we were all getting. But leaving Colossus's hotel room at close to 1 in the morning, 12:30 in the morning, and then making that walk in uptown Charlotte was a little nerve-wracking. So I won't be doing that again. We'll end up staying at the Westin next year and each year going after that. So get checked in, and Thursday night it's me and Ryan, Colossus Collector, it's Broke Boy, Noah, and then Dave Chinmo from 3 Men in a Basement. We all just went ahead and hit the town, and we had picked up Terry JSA is his handle. We picked him up at the while we were walking around on the con floor Thursday, just sort of browsing around, checking things out. And we all went out to go grab a bite to eat. And after we hung out there for a while, it was hot. It was a miserable walk. It was hot the entire time we were in Charlotte. It was hot in this heat wave we've been having. We ended up leaving out of that pub there and went back to Ryan's room and hung out and talked. Got to know Terry a good bit. Had never met him before today, and we ended up just hanging out, goofing off. And Mr. Akins ended up stopping by. We had him and Ryan placed a massive DoorDash order that took all of us to get on there and get later that night. But just a bunch of hanging out that night. So that was great. That night ended, took the late walk back to the room, crashed as quick as I could because I was going to be getting up early. The doors were opening at 10 a.m. on Friday, so I knew I needed to get there early to try to get in there at 9. and I wanted to hang out with Jim a little bit beforehand, so I got up and went and had breakfast at the Westin, and then ended up coming back to the convention center and hung out with Jim until time for the doors to open. So we just stood and talked about everything. We were into cleaning, to pressing techniques, to how's life going, to his kids and those kinds of things. And it was just nice to get to catch up and hang out there, right, kind of like the calm before the storm. So for Friday morning, it's 9 o'clock. The doors are opening for VIPs. Press pass people are already in, walking around, getting their stuff going. I go in and I have a small list of things I'm looking for. I'm looking for a G.I. Joe #1 newsstand. I'm looking for a ASM 252 newsstand. I'm looking for a Star Wars 68 newsstand. And I'm looking for any Transformer issue, preferably newsstand, of number 70 through number 80. Any of those would be fine. I've got some, but I'm looking for good condition stuff. Eventually, I'm slowly putting together a full series of Transformer books in 9.8. That's the ultimate goal, and this is going to be years and years of things. And so, first thing that we did, get in an hour early, and we go in. First vendor that we go to doesn't have anything for me. Has some cool books. Jim ends up getting pulled, into a direction. He's looking for. Well, we're kind of looking for the same thing. Like, he didn't have necessarily a pull list, but for his business is definitely looking for anything that is minty fresh, something that's a 9.4, maybe even a 9.2 or something. Definitely 9.6s that he could crack, fix the issue, and send it in. That's the typical look that all of us are going for, and he ended up finding a lot of good stuff. I didn't have the budget to spend to get an awful lot of things, so I sort of just stuck to my list instead of finding stuff to flip this year. But that will be, that's pretty much what I've done the rest of the year and what I'll continue to do going forward. But for this trip, it was just for me doing this. But anyway, Jim was able to find a handful of things, and while he was doing that, I sort of wandered off to a different booth, and the first thing that I found was my ASM 252, and it was at this place here. The wall was magnificent first part of the day, and they had everything. Well, they didn't have the G.I. Joe #1 newsstand, but they did have this, and it turns out that as I was looking at it, it's not just the newsstand, it is indeed the Canadian price variant. The book looks pretty good. It's got a couple of color breaks right here, but if it weren't for the color breaks, we would be in serious Grail territory. But until then, it's going to be a really, really good copy to have here. I'm extremely proud to have it. I've always wanted it, and finally found one that I could be happy with displaying, with looking at, and owning for time to come. So really happy with it. There's still tape on the bag, so haven't even pulled it out of the bag yet. They were asking $170 for it. I was not going to pay $170 for it, so we talked it down. I did end up getting it for $140. So $140, a lot of money for a comic book, but looks great. ASM 252 newsstand Canadian price variant, check off the list. So that one's done. We can move on, and the list is now one book smaller. After that, there was a lot of looking at books. Going around with Jim, and the way that his eye works is the same that my eye works. We figured it out early on that the things that he sees are the exact same things that I see, as far as flaws, as far as potential, and as far as money and grade bumps. So we were able to divide and conquer at every stand that we went to, every booth we went to. He could start over here, I could start over there. I knew the types of books and the big titles he was looking for and the price ranges he wanted to be in. He knew the books that were on my list, the ones that I was looking for, and anything that might possibly interest me for sure. So we were able to go through and easily pick, and he found, again, like I said earlier, he found a lot of books, not only on day one, but several throughout the next couple of days as well. For like break time, so as we got closer to lunch, we all total for day one, we were up for 9 hours on our feet. It was from the time it opened at 9 o'clock, we were there till they kicked us out. So when we needed to take a break, they had a nice concession stand in the back, burgers, hot dogs, that kind of thing. Outside of the convention center, or outside of the hall where all the comic books were, there were several restaurants out there. Bojangles was one of them, and then a couple of Einstein's Bagels, and a little pizza shop or something like that. So, but for this meal, we stayed in the convention center and used the concession stand, grabbed a burger, I grabbed some nachos. We went and sat down. They had a seating area that I didn't know was going to be there. And it turns out that all the artists, a lot of the artists will go and just sit up there on the platform, and then they just start drawing. And these art pieces end up getting sold at the auction that's on Saturday night. And it's all benefit and charity. And we sit down, and I'm not even paying much attention. I'm hungry. I'm just ready to grab some nachos down the pipe, and look up, and we have sat in the absolute perfect spot. And Scotty Young sits down and starts stringing up paper and starts painting. He starts drawing, and then he starts painting after that. So now I'm starstruck, and we sit there for a good 30 minutes or so, and watch him cut up and goof off with the crowd a little bit. And it was just, I don't know, it's nice to know that he's a normal person, which I'd heard before. Most everybody's a normal person, and it's nice to see it in real life and be able to believe it. And people that you really enjoy their work, it makes it just so much better. So on the afternoon, I ended up taking, I have a sketchbook. I guess I could show what it is, the size of it anyway. Just a regular, 8 by 11, 9 by 12, whatever it is. And I had dropped this off. There's a different story for this book that I'll end this video with. But I had dropped this off with Maria Wolf on day one, and asked her, how much for the sketch, and she was $80 to do a headshot. So I got her to go ahead and do that. She took it with her, and I would end up getting it back tomorrow on day two. After I waited and hung out with her and talked to her for a little bit, we continued to look and look and look. It was book after book. It was non-stop, checking everything out. And the best part during this day, and during day two as well as day three, was you could just be standing, leaning over a box, talking to a guy or whatever, and somebody comes right back up. One of your friends just comes right up and says, "Hey, what do you got? What are you looking at? Is there anything good over here in this area?" Those kinds of things. And you do the same to them whenever you see them, and it's just a really good time. Really enjoy that. But lots of books. The next notable part that ended up doing was we walked over, and I finally got to meet in person Mike Spicer. Mike lives down in Clermont, Florida, and my in-laws are all in Ocoee, Florida, and Clermont, Florida. And so I've been talking with Mike for, I don't know, maybe a year and a half or so, at least over the last year, just getting to know him. I bought tons of books from him. Anytime he had anything for sale, he put it up on his eBay store. He'd advertise it on his Instagram page, and I would track him down, get him to sign it for me, and we've been able to message back and forth for a good while. And he recently announced that he just finished his battle of cancer, and posted that up in a video, and that he was actually going to be able to make it to Heroes Con. So everything that I've tried to do to meet up with him, it wouldn't work out. My schedule wouldn't let me down there in time on Free Comic Book Day, and there was one thing after another that I couldn't get to any of the signings that he was doing while we were down there, and it just worked out perfect. So ended up getting to meet him, talk to him for a while, and I grabbed one book that I've been trying to find for a price I wanted to pay for it, and I just never could. Now I've got several raw copies of this, but I just never could. I never could find a 9.8 that I wanted. Once this series really took off, it just went higher than I wanted to pay for a 9.8. So Mike had one at his booth for sale and picked this up from him at $70, and I thought that was very, very well worth it on this book. This will be a book that I will never get rid of. This will be one for me that stays with me because of the story of where I got it from, who it belonged to, and what that particular series means to me. All Transformer stuff is obviously important to me, that I grew up with it, but the current Transformer run is the run that really locked me back in to collecting, not just knowing that it's out there and not just liking the art and that kind of thing. It actually really woke me up to wanting to come back and being so invested in the storylines of the new comics that are out there, and not just stuck in the 80s, which I tend to be a lot. After we talked with Mike, it was time to go back and do some more digging, and we just went around and around and around. And the last place that we ended up purchasing from, Jim had found, I had found one book that I wanted, and they just wouldn't come off of it. And I knew I was in the realm of overpaying, and I don't like to overpay, but I don't have a lot of options for buying this particular book. eBay's an option for everything. I'll get that out up front. I just am trying to stop buying things on eBay, mainly because I want to enjoy the hunt. I want it to be in person. And if I get it on eBay, it's got to be something that is, I don't have a chance to get it in the wild kind of thing. So I want the stuff that I get now, I want it to have a story. I tend to remember the things that I get in person, where I was, who I was with, what I was feeling. The instant joy that I found when I got this book, when I picked it up for the first time. If I get it from eBay, it just comes in a box a lot of times. I look at it, I put it in the app, and I put it into another box, and it goes in these drawers. And when I look at it, obviously I'm excited because I bought it because I wanted it, but it's not quite the same. So I'm trying to shed all of that and not worry so much about that. That also means that things aren't going to be as cheap as they would be if you were sitting and watching for that one $30 book or whatever on eBay. Go to a convention, people are going to generally ask convention prices, especially on day one. Now this one was a little bit of an exception. There were people willing to haggle. It just wasn't meant to be on this book. So I walked away from this book twice. I did offer $150. Again, I overpaid for this book, but $150 was where I was staying. I wasn't going to do $151 or anything more than that. And we went back and forth, and they said no, not going to do it. They wanted $170. They were asking $200 for it. But what ended up happening is I walked away from a Transformers number 80 and a 9.6. This book has got very, very good potential for a 9.8, which is pretty valuable in this particular book because of the super low print run. But I say I walked away from it because I did. I walked away from it twice. Made him offers, and he turned my offer down. But Jim was with me, and he had another book he was wanting to buy. So we started working a combined price between the two, where I could get this for $150, and Jim could get his books for what he was wanting. They weren't having it. So I turned it down again. I put it back in the box. I walked away, went to another booth. Well, Jim ended up starting working another deal to where he was going to buy 2 books. I think he was kind of just on a mission to make this book happen at $150. I'll tell myself that's what it was, but obviously he wanted the books that he bought too. But once he got 3 books, and we kept telling him through this whole process that are you seriously going to lose a sale of $330 or whatever our total was for the 2 books? Are you going to lose that over $20? And they didn't care. They were stuck on it, and that's where it was. So while I was off looking at something else, he ended up pulling a deal and getting it to where this was $150, and he bought 2 other books. So I did end up getting it. Kind of hated that it wasn't just that fall in your lap kind of thing like the Amazing Spider-Man 252 was, which was cool. But I'm really glad that I have this book. I can't wait to crack this thing open and go through it, make sure that it is as good as I hope that it is, and get it in shape to be sent off to switch this thing to a 9.8. That's the hope for this one. So that was the last purchase I had of day one, and that is number 2 off of my list. Now, I looked at a lot of Star Wars 68 newsstands on this day, and I found a bunch of directs, and the same with G.I. Joe. I found a bunch of directs, and I found a bunch of newsstands of each of them, but just not in the condition that I wanted. I'm wanting something that, you know, not only displays well, but is in that upper territory of a 9.4, 9.6-ish, something like that. So, but that concludes day one. On to day two. Day two was packed, both literally in the convention center and figuratively in the day of how many books we touched and that I had in my hand. Hanging out with people, watching them look for their grails and watching them find some. It was a really, really fun time on day two. The convention center is not bad as far as being packed and crunched together. Like, you've got enough room. My buddy Hagen, Lettuce Comics, had mentioned that when he'd been there in the past, there's enough room to pull long boxes out, sit on the floor and go through it, and you don't get stepped on or tripped over. There's none of that. And he also pointed out after the conference or convention that if you wanted to have a 4-foot circle around you at all times, you could have done it and still gone through and seen this stuff. Saturday was the most people, obviously, but it was so much more space than I had imagined, and was exactly what I was wanting. I don't like to be elbow to elbow with a bunch of people all day, every day, so it was very comfortable for me. Starting on day two, though, we decided to dart over to the opposite side from where we did yesterday. So we ran in on day one and went this way, and we went in on day two and said, we only made it to like right here on day one, so let's go all the way over here, and then we'll work our way back into the middle to finish that up on the end of day two. But on day one, I ended up stumbling on things that have been on my want list, but I didn't figure I'd come up with anything that I really wanted in the price range I wanted to pay anyway. We stumbled on a couple of really great booths back there. In the center of the convention, we found that there were a little more arrogant, not really wanting to talk to you. I'm not talking about deals, I'm talking about just acting like you exist and to be happy that you came there rather than just not even acknowledge you at all unless you wanted to negotiate with them, and then they were grumpy and those kinds of things. But out here on the perimeter, it was a whole different story. So starting day two, we went out through there, found one great booth right off the bat of a guy that was just excited to be there. It was his first time selling there. I enjoyed the heck out of just talking to him. Even if I wouldn't have bought anything, I would have still talked to him. Ran into a few things, like he didn't actually check what recent sales were on a bunch of books, and so we actually tried not to be jerks at all and said, I'm perfectly fine if you don't want to sell it for what I'm offering, but I'm just going to offer you what the last 3, 4, 5 recent sales of this book actually are. So this week's price based on recent sales, and that's using GP analysis. And so what I ended up stumbling on was I had been looking for a long time for a Spawn #1 newsstand and never found one that I really could afford. And you'll see that this one is slabbed as an 8.0 by CBCS, and this is better than an 8.0 book. Now, this is not going to be a 9.8 book, so when I do open this one up and do the work on it, this one is probably going to be capped off at about a 9.6. It might be a 9.4 if we get the grader that's not in a great mood, but it's certainly a 9.4 to 9.6 candidate, and it is much better than an 8.0. But when we got there, he was asking $150 for this in an 8.0. And yeah, the newsstand versions of these are rare, but they're not $150 for an 8.0 rare. So the most recent sales of this book were between $80 and $92, I think. So that was probably about 3 months worth, maybe 4 months worth of sales of these. And just let him know that, look, I'll give you $90. Again, it's not a $90 book currently in this slab, so overpaying just a little bit more, but I really like the guy a lot, and we were that close, and he was struggling and hemming and hawing. He didn't want to do it. He didn't want to come below, I think he was 100 or 100, I think it might have been 110. And I told him, no, there's just no way, and politely told him that, obviously. And so I was digging through the rest of his boxes, and then I also found that he had a Wolverine #1 newsstand edition. So with this one, I needed this for my Wolverine run. Obviously, it is a important book. These don't break the bank. These aren't worth, anything like the original Wolverine #1 from the miniseries were. So these are out there, but this one's in a 9.2, and I got this one. I took a risk on this one. This was $60. That was the first price he gave me, and that was exactly what I was looking at paying. And when he threw that out, I said, hey, how about we do 90 and 60? I was like, can you do that? And he was like, you know what? Okay, cool. So I got both of these. I'm happy with it. I think it is a little bit much for the Spawn, but that's okay. But the risk that I took on this one, and I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera. Not very well at all. But the inner well, somebody, the grader, I don't know what was on his hands, but there are, in this black area, you can see there are scuffs and not fingerprints, but some kind of residual something or another on it. And the way you can tell is that it's on the inner well is you can turn the book, and as you watch the spot, you can turn and look and see that the spot never moves while the book is shifting up and down. So I think there's a shot that this one could get a grade bump. I'm hoping so. Worst case scenario, it's $60, and it is easily going to be above a 9.2 for sure when I get done with it. So whether it's going to be a 9.4, 9.6, who knows? If I get lucky and all this stuff on the back is just what I thought of, all on the inner well, and there's nothing wrong with the book, then it certainly has a 9.8 potential. But I'll say it's probably going to be capped at a 9.4 to 9.6, more than likely. But I am thrilled to death to have this one. Moving on to the rest of day 2. After we left this one, we ended up immediately finding this next booth. This was the most refreshing. It was my most fun booth of the day. And I wish I would have gotten their names. I wish I would have gotten their company name too, or pictures of them. I just was overwhelmed with the personality. It was what appeared to be a man, an older gentleman with 2 daughters who were about my age. They might have been a little younger than me. They might have been in their 30s, late 30s or something. But anyway, this was 3 people who were incredibly personable. They all 3 knew every question about comic books that you could possibly be asked. Not only that, they also knew everything about their inventory. They knew where it was. They knew how many they had. They were all on the same page. It was a very, very well-oiled machine, and it was so much fun. And their thing that they kept telling to everybody is that their booth's not a museum. If you see something that you want to look at, go look at it. And so I had asked them about, hey, can I look at this book you have on the wall? I think it might have been a First Gambit, Uncanny 266. And they were like, maybe just go get it off the wall and look at it if you want. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, Jim took it a step further, and they had, not only one, they had 2 Amazing Fantasy 15s. And Jim was like, can I get that one off the book? And the other lady said, it's not a museum. Absolutely, you can do it. Take it, look at it, and see what you want. It's like, well, do you mind if I take a picture with it? And so that's where this picture came from. And that was the first time, and it might be the only time in my life I ever get to hold that book, but that was pretty awesome. And then later in the day, being able to sort of mull over a Giant Size X-Men #1, that was pretty cool too. I didn't get one. I didn't get one. Can't quite afford that right now, but being able to have both of those books in my hand in one day was a lot of fun. What I did end up getting at that booth from those folks was, while we were talking, they had a little stack of Transformers books out, and I asked, what is in that box down there? So they told me, so I browsed through and looked through Transformers, and in the back of that there was 80 Star Wars. So with me, anything in the 80s that's Marvel especially, I'm hooked on it. Any of the Daredevil run, Iron Man, obviously you've got Transformers and the the Star Wars. It's just, I don't know, the trade dress just sucks me in. Spider-Man, everything to do in that realm just gets me, and I can't leave it in the boxes a lot of times. So I recently came across a big giant chunk of the Star Wars run in really good shape for really cheap, and in this box that they had, I ended up getting one of them that I needed for the run. It's not valuable or anything whatsoever, but they had all these things in there, and everything was in this. I think this might have been $5, something like that. But it's great. It has a couple of spine creases, but no color breaks, nothing, and the colors on it look as good in person as they do in here. I also got another book out of that box, but I'm not gonna go into it. I got it for Hagen over at Lettuce Comics, and he'll talk about that later if he wants to talk about that. But I ended up bringing it back with me here so that I could put it in the press and do some work on it to get it back up into its top shape to hand off to him. But again, there are good sellers at these shows, and it was second to none with this group of people here. It was a great experience. After that, ended up doing more digging, and it was digging the rest of the day. Probably one of the coolest stories happened with my boy Broke Boy Comics. Noah over there comes and grabs me that he's gonna go and get some purchases picked up, and that I can't wait to see his video. You need to follow Broke Boy Comics both on Instagram and here on YouTube. If you're following me, I'm sure you're already following him anyway, but his story is pretty amazing, and I want to tell it so bad, but it's going to be a minute before he gets his video out, so I'm just going to shut up and stop there. But the parallel to that is out of his stuff, I ended up at the booth that had Jonathan Uribe was there, and he had done this killer homage cover for the ASM 238, and the foil, it just, I don't know, I saw it on the table, I had to have it. So I got this and got Jonathan to sign it for me there in the middle, and that was just that's just really a really cool cover. It's of a Mad Cave book. It's super. I've never seen anything like it. I love art, love cover art, obviously, but this one is one that was a no-brainer for me to get, and that one will bring smiles for me, not only because of the cover, but because of the story that's going to be attached to it on Noah's video at Broke Boy Comics. Again, I'm going to keep plugging him because I can't wait for that story to come out. Later that afternoon was when I was able to get back to Maria Wolf. She had taken my sketchbook and was drawing for me, and what I had asked her to draw for me was, I always like her Transformers drawings, so I ended up getting her to do me a Megatron headshot. And with this one, she didn't have it ready when I first found her, when I got there early in the day, and she said that I've almost got it done. I need to do some inking on it. And I was like, okay, well I'll come back. She's like, no, just wait here. I waited, and that poor lady, she just kept having people come over and over and over, and she just couldn't get it finished. But ended up making it happen. I just came. I told her I'd come back in a couple hours, so I came back and she had it ready. We were able to get together, take a quick picture, and I wanted to let her get back to taking her taking herself back to do her money making bid, because people were just constantly throwing money at her, and I was happy to see it. She is amazing in person. If you ever get a chance to meet her, you should do it. She is just a personality that doesn't exist. It's quite exciting to be around. She's extremely motivating, and I enjoyed every minute I got to spend around her, so I highly recommend that. After the end of day 2 at the convention, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do for dinner, and I ended up riding the coattails of Eric Sidequest Comics and his wife. We went to this French Quarter restaurant over about a block from the Panthers football stadium, and we went down there and had some outstanding food. It was amazing. I never knew that I liked a Monte Cristo, but again, we had this waitress full of personality. She was excited to be there. She was excited we were there. It was just, it was incredibly relaxing. It was great. And the theme for this whole video and for this whole convention was I could care less about the books. It was getting to spend the time with the people that I got to spend time with it was perfect. It was better than I could hope for. It was, you talk to these people for a year or 2 years online, and you have your thoughts of what you hope they're like in person, and when you meet them and they just exceed what you had even hoped. And this group of people, if you're not following everybody that I mentioned in this group, or everybody that's tagged in these groups, or everybody that I'm following, I highly recommend just go down the list and sub all of them up. It's a fantastic group of people, and I just love being around them. I can't wait for the next chance to do it. But so after dinner, we ended up walking back to the Westin. It was time for the art auction that they were having, and I told you that we had the artists doing all of the platform drawings and stuff throughout the whole time. And we went in, and that place was absolutely packed. That place, you couldn't walk around very much without bumping into somebody. I almost knocked the wine out of Scotty Young's hand because I bumped into him accidentally. Sorry. We went through and walked through a lot of this stuff, and just the amount of talent that's on display is off the radar. I only saw the one half of the stuff that was up for sale. The other side of the room had a mirror image of all of these boards that all of the art was tacked up on, and it was amazing to watch. I stayed there for a while, and then I went ahead and checked out and stepped out. Was able to meet Tessa. Tessa is a nerd, is her handle. She was lovely in person. Enjoyed getting to hang around her for a few minutes, and then I booked it on out and called it a night to end day 2. So now we are at day 3. Day 3 was a blur. I knew I was leaving early. We had decided that a few of us were gonna head out and make a trip to South Carolina, so I got in using the VIP pass, thankfully. The VIP pass opens at 10 o'clock, so you can get in, but I was starving that morning, so I went ahead and hit the Bojangles and grabbed me some food, and I didn't even get in the convention center or into where the convention was until about 10:15, because they didn't open Bojangles until 10 o'clock, even though I was there at 9:45, so I got to hang out there and wait for them to open. But I decided that I just had a feeling I wanted to try to see what the line was for John Romita Jr. One of my favorite covers, obviously everybody knows Wolverine 17 is my favorite, and right there next to it is going to be the Uncanny 207. I went to John Romita Jr.'s line, and there were 4 people in front of me. There were 4 people in line, and that was it. And we're 10:15, the door's been open for 15 minutes. And his line had been ridiculous for the 2 times that I had already gone by there. And I was like, there's not a shot that I could do it. He had an experience where you could pay so much money and you could get 10 signed from him, and you could have some personal time with him. It was all kind of after hours, after the convention was over for the day. And those sold out quick, and I didn't have the money to pay for that. I did, but it would have cost me, you know, being able to look for some other stuff. So I decided I wasn't going to do that, and I wasn't real sure what everybody else's schedule was, so I didn't want to miss out on anything else. So I passed on that, and I regretted it heavily, especially after I saw the line. But this worked out amazing. I went in 10:15, 4 people in front of me. I got to watch him interact with the people that were in front of me. He was so full of energy. The guy is almost, I think he said I don't remember what age he said he was, but he just blew me away with the amount of energy that he had. It was quite exciting to be around. But I was able to get my Uncanny 207 signed, and I am so happy about it. I am bummed that, like a dummy, I didn't press this one and get it all nice and perfect before I took it, because I figured, well, I'll go ahead and get it signed and then I'll bring it back in case he sort of mishandles it or whatever, and I can fix it once I get back home. So I'll just fix all of it when I get back home. But I could have gotten the CGC witness signature, and I could have went ahead and just got it slabbed while I was there too. But I didn't, and I'll know that for next time to do a little bit better than that. So I did get this. I don't know that I'll even send it to get it graded. I absolutely love this book so very much, and being able to just, I don't know, get to cut up with them for the couple minutes that I was there, it was a ton of fun. That blew me away. That was unexpected. That I had hoped it would happen. I never planned on it to happen. After that was over, or while we were there, Chris Claremont was literally the table right next to him, and I could hear him cut up, and I was able to take some pictures of him, and he was just literally whistling while he was working. You could hear it echoing all through the entire hall where we were, and it was great. Everybody was just happy to be there. Everybody was excited, and it was pretty infectious. I left that line and went, and I just decided to stop and just, you know, take this little view of Artist Alley back here where everything was, and I wanted to go ahead and get in the line for Daniel Warren Johnson because I had a Transformers book that I was hoping to get signed, and just hoping to get to meet him, to let him know how much I appreciate his work and how much what he does means to me. And he ended up not getting there until noon, and I was running really low on time. And yesterday on day 2, I had dropped off my sketchbook after I got it back from Maria Wolf. I had dropped it off with Jay Lee. Jay Lee is my favorite, like, Space Ghost covers he has done, and I like his art on Superman, Batman, everything that he's done. It just, that style resonates with me that he does, and I really enjoyed it a lot. And I'm a huge Space Ghost fan, and I asked him if I could drop my sketchbook off with him on Saturday, and he said, well, first off, he said, I'll have that done by 5 o'clock. I went back at 5 o'clock, and he was like, oh gosh, I didn't realize it's so late. When are you leaving? I was like, well, they close the doors at 6, so I'll be here till then. And so I went back at the end of the day, and he still didn't have it. I was like, let's just wait till tomorrow. That'll be fine. He's like, oh, that's great. That's fantastic. So I ended up catching him. Now we are about 11. No, it's about 10:30, I guess now, 10:45, something like that. And he was like, oh gosh, how about 11:30? Let's make it 11:30, and I'll have it ready for you. I was like, that'll work perfect. So I then wandered off, and I went and got in the line for Daniel Warren Johnson. Met some super cool people and talked to them for a while, and waited in line till right at 11:30, and found out that he wasn't going to actually get there until after 12 o'clock noon. So I couldn't wait that long because I knew we were leaving around noon. And I went ahead and made a beeline back over to Jay Lee's booth, and he was still there, and he was like, hey, what are you doing back? And I was like, well, it's 11:30. And he was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Well, he hadn't even started on any of it, which is fine, because it worked out perfect for me, because I was able to stand there and film the entire thing start to finish. Now, for him to do this, it took him, I think this B-roll of it, or, you know, this video that I've got here of it, I think it was 4 minutes and change for him to knock it out. And all he did with a pencil was just do a light outline sketch, just to give him some guidelines of, you know, what space to stay inside. And the rest of it he did with 2 different paint brushes. He signs his name with the paintbrush, and it just comes together fantastic. So check out this video here. I'm gonna just run through it here and let you take it in the same way that I did. So yeah, that's what it ended up like, and he did it so quick. He was so nice. It was just the perfect thing. As soon as he got done, I grabbed a stranger to take a picture so that I could have it. And as soon as we did that, Mike, Lunch Money, and the other guys, Noah, and then Ryan, they popped up and just at the right time. You know, Mike got his video of it, and it was just it was nice to get to share that experience with other people, with my friends, and that was quite nice. We ended up after that we hung out about 12 o'clock. We all left and we went upstairs to the food court area. And me and Rohan and Ryan, Colossus Collector, Mike, Lunch Money Comics, Dan's X-Men. We just had a table just hanging out. Chinmo was up there with us, and everybody's we're throwing all of our stickers around and all of our stuff to give to everybody, and it was just, I don't know, it was a great time to hang out. Dan finally got a Bojangles biscuit. I don't know if it changed his life, but they were talking about it a lot. It was a pretty big conversation for a couple of days. Was what is Bojangles? So hopefully that worked out. If you're curious, Bojangles is a chicken place down here in the South that some people love, some people hate, whatever. It's 3 minutes from me. I love it because I need a quick breakfast sometimes, so works out. After that, it got to where it was no longer a Comic-Con anymore. So Mike and Rohan and Dan, they had never been to South Carolina. And Mike had come up with this idea weeks ago on Colossus Collector's channel that he might want to skip out a little bit early on Sunday to go to South Carolina so he can mark that state off of his list. And I had sent him a message and I was like, hey, I'm driving, so I'm going to be in a rental. I have plenty of room, so if you and Rohan, whoever wants to go, let's go take a tour. Let's go head to Fort Mill. Mike had found that Fort Mill was a place that might have a comic shop, and looked it up, and sure enough, we found a little comic shop there, collecting issues and then or collecting problems, and then we checked it out to where we could go down there. We could find something to eat. Hagen Lettuce Comics had recommended a restaurant called Hobo's, and it did not disappoint. If you're ever in Fort Mill, South Carolina, you need to check this place out and get the burger called The Wanderer. It looks great. And Mike had that. I ended up having a pulled pork sandwich, which was also fantastic. Great place to go, great place to hang out. So I highly recommend that. Check that out. So when we left, here is the lack of YouTube thought mentality. Like, I never pulled my phone out other than the one picture of us sitting at the restaurant hanging out, which turned out to be one of the photos of the trip right there. It was perfect, one that we'll all hang on to forever, appreciate very much, and I'm glad I at least thought of that part of it. But when we went to the comic shop, I never even got my phone out. Mike's got a lot of coverage of it, so we'll be sharing out his video to to give the guys a good pub for their location. I got a few books there. I didn't grab a ton of things, but I did get, obviously, we get into the 80s stuff. 80s Marvel is my, we've already talked about, is already my downfall. Grabbed a couple Iron Man issues that I didn't have on my list, and then grabbed a Daredevil 77. Colors on it were great. Rohan even brought that up, and it was cool. It was 35 is what he had on it. I think for everything that I've got, I ended up paying somewhere around, I don't know, $60 or $70. I really don't remember anymore. But I did get, I finally picked up this. I've been needing at least some kind of placeholder version of this for a while. This is one of my favorite covers, and then it got blown up and the price went up, and I just wouldn't pay a bunch for it. He had 45 on it, and we came down to around 30, I think, or something like that. Like I said, I don't remember exactly what I paid for the whole lot. I think it was around 60 or something like that. So I need to get it bagged and board. I need to get it pressed first, and then stick it in a good bag and board, and then we'll be good to go on that. So after that, we left, and we hit a peach stand that we had seen coming into town. So Mike and the guys, they wanted to stop and grab some peaches. So I got a quick little 11-second footage of Rohan and Mike and Dan picking through the peaches, trying to figure out which one's good. And what I don't have, and I should have had, is some footage of how much of the peach they were wearing when they were done. And so we hit a little ice cream shop right across the road, and they were able to get cleaned up, grab some ice cream for the road, And then on the way back, it was back to the airport. It was pretty much nothing but Patriot talk, Seattle Seahawks talk, a little bit of hockey and NBA talk, and then a lot of Greg Maddux stats and Tony Gwynn stats. Just, I don't know, just guys hanging out. It was a really, really good, really relaxing day on Sunday all the way around from start to bottom. The only regret that I have on it is that, you know, that it all had to end and go that route. So now the most important thing that I brought home from HeroesCon, the sketchbook. So I bought this sketchbook and had an idea instantly when I got it. Obviously the sketchbook's not my idea. I stole it from Rohan and all the other guys that have been doing sketchbooks for a while. Space is limited. Sketchbook is the way that you can get multiple people across multiple shows to sign one piece for you, and it's a memory bank is really what it is. Well, I had the thought, I want it like able to be sectioned off, and I couldn't come up with a good way to have tabs or anything like that. I wanted it to be, when I flipped, I wanted to know exactly what convention it was, what year it was. So Eric from SideQuest, he started doing more drawings lately, and he posted up a video of a Captain America drawing that he did that ended up going to Hagen. And when I saw it, it hit me instantly that I need to send a sketchbook to Eric, and I want to get him to draw the Heroes logo for me. And I reached out to him. He was like, yeah, absolutely, I'll do that. So I sent this off to him, and of course, I mailed it through the Postal Service, did everything the way that you're supposed to, and it went to Indiana. It got real close to him, and then it hung a big turn, and it went to Brooklyn, and it hung out in Queens for a few days. So it ended up taking about 4 or 5 days longer to get to him than it should have, but he still was able to knock it out. So this is all Eric's drawing, and we had some space, and so some of the guys signed. There's a handful of them that I didn't have this book whenever we were doing all the get-togethers and hangouts, because Michelle Wolf had it all night one night, and Jay Lee had it the next night, and then of course we were gone the next night. So and I didn't get this from Eric until Friday morning. So here's a picture of the guy signing it there in the hotel room at the Westin. But what was also cool is he had told me that he had done a sketch for me too in there, that he wasn't going to tell me what it was, and I didn't want him to. I wanted to see it, and I was blown away when I opened it up, and Eric had done this phenomenal rendering of Shockwave for me. I fell over in my brain, and if there had been a chair I could have sat in, I would have sat down for a while and just stared at it at the time there in the hotel lobby. It was amazing. I'm trying so hard to look at you and not just stare at it and look off. I have stared at this book for so long since I got this from him, and I absolutely love it. Really fun story on this is when I took this to Maria Wolf on Saturday. Of course, it's a new sketchbook. The only things in it is the Heroes logo and a killer Shockwave. She looks at it and she's like, I don't recognize this name. And I was like, oh, that's Eric. He has a YouTube channel called SideQuest Comics. It's a friend of mine, and he had drawn that and the Heroes logo for me. She was like, that's really great. And I was like, can you believe he quit doing art for a long time? And she said, he did what? I said, yeah. I said, he's just now really getting back into it this year. And that's, you know, he hasn't done a lot for a lot of people. And she said, get your phone out. I was like, okay, all right, here we go. And so she got the sketchbook from me, and so we did this video. I'm not going to put the words on it, but I'll show you here. She was quick and to the point to Eric to essentially let him know that he is incredibly good and he better not quit and keep on going. So what, you know, that was awesome in its own. This was I recorded that video with her on Saturday, and then on Saturday evening for the big art auction, me and Eric were walking around together checking out the art, and there comes Maria. She's like right beside me, so I just touched her on the shoulder. I was like, hey Maria, that video that you and I made this afternoon about the guy with the art? She's like, yeah. I was like, it's him. And she just sort of pushed me to the side, and then they had their own conversation. for a good 4 or 5 minutes that was just solid about life, about the importance of art, and you know what it meant to her, her life journey, and you know, her thinking about quitting and that kind of thing at one point, and the struggles that she's had. It was amazing to sit back and watch. I am so glad to have been a fly on the wall for that. And again, bad YouTuber moment. I didn't even get the camera out. I was so locked in on the conversation they were having, and that, you know, the excitement that Maria's giving off, and you know, it's infectious. It was great. So Eric, I will never ever be able to repay you for both of these drawings, the stories, the I don't know, appreciation, everything that you given me this weekend. I sincerely appreciate it more than you'll ever know, more than a Danish Uncanny 207 X-Men book will probably signify, but hey, it'll be a start at least. I can't wait to hang out with you again. I can't wait to hang out with everybody again. I'm trying hard to figure out if this Terrificon's going to work. I don't think that it is, but I'm not going to give up hope until it's the last day kind of thing. So that's going to be the really quick video for the summation of Heroes Con. So I hope you enjoyed it. I know I sure did. I can't wait for the next one. It's going to be, I'm going to do a lot of things different next time. I'm going to stay at the Westin next time. I am going to do a little better planning next time as far as what direction I want to go, have a better list, and got to figure out, the internet wasn't great a lot of times on Saturday, so you need to be prepared, and you can't really keep checking prices when the internet's down, and so you kind of flying blind for a little while. So I'll try to do a little bit better on that next time. But all in all, it was as good a weekend as you could ever have. So I hope you enjoyed it. I can't wait to do it again on the next video, the next convention for the next video, and I'm gonna go flip through all these things that I just showed you all over again, and put them in the places where they go, and I guess I will catch up with you on the next round. I hope you have a great rest of the night, and thanks for watching.